The Board of Alderman work session for Tuesday, May the 12th, 2026 shall come to order at 6:30. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Sawyer.
Present.
Price.
Here.
Neal.
Present.
Ballard.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Sagasser.
Here.
Rains.
Here.
Wilson.
With seven present, we have a quorum. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm entertaining a motion to adopt an amended agenda to include an address of a citizen to the board as item 1.
I'd like to amend the agenda to include Eddie England's commentary at the beginning of our meeting.
And do we have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have adopted the agenda. So I think Mr. England has sent a formal request to address the board. Please step forward. And I think you know the rules, Mr. England. You have 5 minutes to be timed.
Hi, Eddie England, 1310 East Forest Street here in Bolivar. My concerns are the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit in the school zones, and although that was a valiant effort, I think it probably had the opposite effect with many, if not most, of the drivers. It's almost impossible to do 15 mile an hour down those streets, especially when you're going downhill on Hartford, north on Hartford. So if it's not attainable, they can't do 15, they'll do what they want. They'll go as fast as they want. And a lot of times that's 35, 40 mile an hour. What I think we should do 25, if not 25, at least 20, and keep it, 30 mile an hour when it's not school hours, from 7 to 4. It'd be, say, 20 mile an hour, and then after that it's 30 mile an hour. That at least gives everybody attainable goals, because, again, if they can't do the 15, they're not going to do the 15. They're going to drive as fast as they want. And as much as we would love to have enforcement there 24/7, we can't. So when there is enforcement, people behave themselves. When there's not an officer present, they don't. So it's not just on my street, which is ridiculous, but Hartford, Division, Forest, all those around there, Laird, people just do not do 15 mile an hour. So if we can set an attainable goal, of at least 20 mile an hour, I'd like to see 25, but if they can give them a goal of 20 mile an hour, I think they'll try to do 20 mile an hour. At least they will try. They'll make an attempt at it. So that's all I got. I appreciate your time. Again, it was a valiant idea, to slow everybody down, but I think it had the opposite effect on people. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the time that you take to address it. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Yeah, just one quick thing. Could we get that on an agenda for discussion, maybe at our next meeting? Of course. Okay.
Okay. We shall go on to item 2. Chief, you are up and on.
Thank you, everyone. I have 2 things this evening to share with everybody. First, because we had set an agenda item for one thing, we had the opportunity to do one more thing early, and that is we have hired a new employee at the police department, and we have transitioned one of our civilian employees to a commissioned role, and they have just graduated the police academy. And so I'd like to introduce to the board and have them come around and shake everybody's hand. We have Tyler Brashear. He has been our crime analyst since July of 2023, SBU student since 2019. He is local to the area. and he graduated the police academy on the 7th of this month and was commissioned on the same day.
But I took him down anyway.
And then we have Bradley Dodson. He lives in Bolivar. He's lived in Bolivar since 2020. He grew up locally here in Morrisville. Has been married to his wife Lacey since 2022. They've got 2 beautiful children, a 3-year-old and a newborn that was born at the end of the academy. Also graduated the police academy on the 7th and was commissioned the same day. And the other thing I wanted to share with you, I know most, if not all, the board remembers this from last November. We had a once-in-a-career incident that happened out on the highway where 3 of our officers acted very heroically and was able to save a person's life and bring them back in a very harrowing situation. We, the command staff, put them in for the Missouri Police Chiefs Association Medal of Valor this year, and all 3 of the officers obtained that Medal of Valor. Last week at the Chiefs Conference, there was an awards banquet, and 2 of the officers, which I'll name today, they're not here today, they received their awards at the banquet, and that was Mason Painter and Lee Cannon. And then Officer Adams was with her family out of state on a family vacation, so she wasn't able to make it to the awards banquet. And I thought, what a wonderful opportunity to share this with all of you and with the city. So if I could really quickly, I'd like to just read a quick excerpt to remind everybody, and then also those listening in at home, what happened last Thanksgiving. November 27th, 2025. On that date, Officer Adams responded to a multi-vehicle crash that culminated in a 3rd collision in which a vehicle left the roadway, became fully submerged in a pond near 4700 block of 131st Road in Bolivar. Upon arrival, Officer Adams observed that the vehicle nearly was completely underwater, with bubbles still rising from the car and bystanders unsuccessfully attempting to rescue with improvised tow straps. Without hesitation and fully aware of the extreme personal risk, Officer Adams removed portions of her uniform and entered the frigid water. It was at freezing temperature that day with a high wind. She swam to the submerged truck with the other 2 officers that I mentioned previously, attempted to break the rear window with her door punch, and then located the driver through the partially opened driver's window. Despite the vehicle being underwater, visibility near 0, and the driver initially caught on an obstruction, Officer Adams repeatedly submerged herself, ultimately freeing the driver and pulling him through the window. Officer Adams then positioned the victim on the roof of the vehicle with only inches below the waterline, immediately initiated CPR while maintaining his airway above the surface of the water. She continued life-saving efforts until joined by Officer Cannon and Painter, who were also assisting during this time. They also assisted in CPR. They secured the victim for extraction. Officer Adams remained in the water until Bolivar fire personnel and other volunteers were able to pull the victim to shore. Officer Adams' actions were performed under extreme physical danger, in deep water with a submerged vehicle, limited equipment, no guarantee of personal safety. Her willingness to risk her life and save another exemplifies the highest traditions of law enforcement service. Her conduct on November 27th was nothing short of heroic. And on behalf of the Missouri Police Chiefs Association, I have a plaque and a Medal of Valor that I'd like to present. Oh, should we be in front of this? Let's stand in front of this for the photo. Thank you very much.
I think that says it all. Thank you, Chief, and thank you to all the officers. All right, Mr. Elford, you want to speak about an opportunity zone, please?
Yes, sir. What's in the packet is a request by the board to sign a letter of support for a nomination for Opportunity Zone 2.0. It's for 2 tracts of land. You'll see there's a photograph, a diagram in here in the packet. These 2 yellow areas is what they're actually applying for Polk County. If you see there's only a small piece actually in Bolivar, and it's essentially west of Missouri 83 and north of Missouri 32. So just a small area in Bolivar. But the EDP is putting this together. There's a deadline of May 17th, and they're trying to get these letters of endorsements for all of our partners, organizations, businesses, etc., in the area to support the nomination. What comes with this, you'll see there's some questions and some answers here as far as the IRS and what it does. Basically, it's a tax incentive and it defers capital gains for the people that invest in these types of properties in these zones.
To reinvest capital gains of any kind in approved projects in those areas, the way I understand this.
That's right.
Are we aware of any particular projects that that have been funded by this or been supported by this?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay,
Not
it's
to my
just
knowledge.
it's just a gesture of support for the
That's right.
for the process. Questions and comments from the board? Stop.
Mr. Mayor, could you silence that, please? Silence it.
Yes, thank you. I'm entertaining a motion for the support or approval for the Opportunity Zone 2 designations.
So moved.
Second.
Questions and comments?
Yeah, I do have one question.
Go ahead, please.
How is this different than a TIF? Because we've had bad experience with TIF land in the past.
I don't know how to answer that.
I'd have to do the research to tell you exactly. I know this is a capital gains deferment for people or companies that invest in these particular zones.
Okay, so it's a different animal.
Yeah, totally different. It goes up through the state, the nomination, but it's actually a federal program.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I'll be honest with you, it's going to be very competitive for us to actually secure this.
Questions and comments? If none, I'm asking for a motion of support for the Opportunity Zone.
Got it in a second.
You've got a
Okay, we
motion
already
and a
have that? All right, okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the approval has been approved. I think the counselor is going to address this next item regarding Liberty Utilities and the franchise fee. Counselor, are you connected?
Yes, I am. Can the board hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay. So Thomas and I were able to meet with some Liberty team. I think it was April 30th that we were able to go to the Liberty building in Bolivar and met. Diana Carter was there, Liberty's counsel, and Tracy Slagle was there. And I do apologize, I do not have the slideshow right in front of me, but you guys should have that. The new customer service executive was also there from Liberty. She was in Bolivar for, I think she comes in monthly and meets with everybody. But long story short, Thomas and I were given a presentation that's summarized by the slideshow that you have in front of you in your packet, I hope. we were given kind of a snapshot of what Liberty is doing to address some of the billing issues and some of the customer service issues. A lot of what they're doing is implementing new phone systems, AI system. We better be able to address customers, both business and residential, whenever they call needing help. It is also going to be able to hopefully get billing better under control. I think two of the issues that we were told Liberty was having with billing was essentially, one of them was whenever multiple properties, if there was an issue with even one of their properties, none of their bills were going out. And I think Liberty has, or at least informed us, that they've addressed that problem. And then Thomas might be able to help me with the other one. Thomas, because I wish I had that right in front of me, but I don't.
Which one was that again? I'm sorry.
Which one was that again,
Oh,
Counselor?
There was a couple of the billing problems that they were having. One of them was for landlords that had multiple properties. And
Yeah.
whenever one of the properties wasn't ready to be billed, none of their properties would be billed. And they've got a new system that addresses that, and they're now able to push out all of the bills, but just keep the one that had an issue from going out, so that they will start to be received on time. And then there was one other billing issue, Thomas, but I honestly don't have that right in front of me.
Yeah,
So-
there were some metering problems with the water meters.
Yes. But that's, and then the two issues that we specifically had, one was for the franchise fee, and then the other, the sales tax. Part of the issues that I think we've addressed with the sales tax was a lot of the sample billing that we had was from 2024, and that was before our new public safety sales tax went into effect. So I think some of the issues that we were seeing and some of the samples were that some of the bills were higher after that sales tax went into effect. Also, the commercial rates are different than the residential rates, we were told. But long story short, on the sales tax issue, Liberty is in the process of securing bids to go out to audit, and they are going to perform an audit of their sales taxes that they've been collecting, and they are going to be willing to share that with the city. So I think one of the things that we've been able to do, and since we brought that to Liberty's attention, is that they have agreed to do a full audit of their sales tax that they've been collecting. On the franchise fee issue, we are probably going to need to sit down and do some research with Natalie and Paula at some point. But what Liberty was able to tell us at that meeting on the franchise fees is that, to their knowledge, they have been remitting the franchise fee, even though they may not have actually been collecting money from their bills. My recollection is that what the ordinance requires is that they actually remit the franchise fee on money that they've actually received. But I think they've been doing it on what they've been billing, regardless of whether they've received it or not. So long story short, we were told that there should not be any franchise fees issued, or franchise fees issues, sorry, but we will probably need to side or not. As for
Counselor,
the rate that's been charged.
Counselor,
Go ahead.
you cut out that last sentence, and I think we missed most of it concerning the franchise fee. Could you please repeat that?
Sure, and if I'm repeating too much, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Fee, we were informed by Liberty that they've been sending that to the city based on what they've been billing, not necessarily on what they've been receiving. So long story short, we were informed that there should not be any issues with the franchise fee, but we probably need to go back and look at that with Paula and Natalie to kind of make sure that what we're saying actually being remitted to the city would track with what Liberty's been billing. But what I hope is good news is that Liberty did tell us at the meeting that they have been remitting the franchise fee, again, based on what they've been billing, not what they've actually been receiving in the door.
Will that information have to jibe with the results of the audit that they're going to have? I mean, to see that it corresponds correctly with the results of the audit to correspond correctly with the receipts that that the city has received.
Yes.
The city actually doesn't receive receipts. They simply receive a check with no explanation to how those amounts of money were derived at.
Just to clarify the mayor's question, will the audit that they are having done include an audit of the franchise fee, or is it just for the sales tax?
Oh, my understanding was the audit that they're doing is for the sales tax.
That's correct.
So any kind of franchise fee questions that we have, we can look at our records, but that will not fall under
Okay.
the
Correct.
the audit
Correct.
that they're having done. Okay.
Correct. But I think I would recommend starting with a review of our records, and then we can get with Liberty as needed to see what they base their remittance on as far as their billing. And on the percentage that they're charging, they said they would be happy to, if we needed them to go down to the 1.961 thereabouts, as opposed to the flat 2%.
If they collect more than the franchise fee is required, are they remitting more, or are they pocketing the 0.004 whatever it is percent difference?
I don't know the answer to that. I doubt they are collecting it, but again, that's something we can go back to them and get some more info on.
Okay.
My understanding was we were getting that whole 2%.
Right.
That was my understanding.
I feel like that's a useful piece of information to have.
Yes. Yeah, and to further on that, they're not sure why that change was made and when it changed. They're trying to search their records to see if that was some kind of correspondence from the city or where exactly that took place.
And I apologize, I don't remember all of the different numbers that we've talked about, but I feel like I remember someone saying that the amounts we have received in franchise fees had gone down significantly or in some way. Am I remembering that correctly?
In the first set of papers that I looked at, it did appear that way, but updated
Okay.
in the last couple of months is when you sent that to me. It's not significant.
Okay, so I assume,
There have been years where it went down a small amount, and there have been years when it went up by a small amount. But Bolivar's been growing for
sure.
years. So.
Sure, I just thought that as we're going through and talking with our people and trying to figure out what we think that should be,
Right.
if we can't see all of what they've done, but if we can see the number's been here and then the number drops, then that's pretty decent evidence that something's wonky with the collection and
Right.
remittance of that. So, and I don't remember if we'd seen a similar number issue with the sales tax as well, but those would also be, I assume, relevant pieces of information for us to arm ourselves with when we're going into a discussion, so we can say,
Right.
why would this be different if nothing's changed?
Go on, Counselor.
Yep.
Go ahead,
Yes,
sir.
And also, I think Liberty was also told us that on the sales tax audit, they are just in the beginning processes of getting bids and setting that up. They did admit that could take a little bit of time. They didn't give us an exact time frame, but they did say they were just at the beginning stages of that. So I wish I could tell you when they were expecting to be done. I think, Thomas, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they said we shouldn't expect anything probably in at least the 12-month range.
Yeah, I think it was like first quarter of 27.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, sir.
And really, that was about everything that we went through. But it was refreshing to have their new customer service executive there and to go through and kind of explain and tell us what's going on their end, as reflected by the slideshow that you've got, or at least the copies of it. So that's really to report, unless Thomas has anything to add, or unless you guys will fully answer.
Questions and comments from the board?
That one. So we've
Mr. Ross.
we've requested them to come to a meeting and talk to us. Where do we stand on that?
I think right now they were preferring for us to report to you and to give you a copy of what you have in your packet. And then they said they would reevaluate if you still wanted them to come to the board. We can still ask them, but they wanted us to get through today first to see if that answered enough of your questions where they wouldn't have to.
Okay.
Personally, I'd still like them to.
I kind of feel, Don, that you actually got more information in person than what this packet shows, because this packet shows very little, if any, information that we had asked about. So the verbal part to you is wonderful. I would have preferred to have had it in writing by Liberty, just so we'd have confirmable, this is what they claim.
Yes, understood. Yes, and I think they would be, I mean, they didn't say they would not be willing to come. They were just hoping that this would answer their questions. But I think what we could do is probably perhaps get with Tracy at Liberty and see if they can, I think that their customer service executive comes in monthly, so we might be able to schedule her on a night when there's a meeting and maybe have her give the same presentation that she gave to Thomas and I.
Is the same presentation going to be just a repeat of this PowerPoint that we have in our hands?
Yes.
Then we already have the PowerPoint.
But as you correctly identified, Alderman, there was some verbal explanations of what you see on the paper,
Okay.
and so
Yes, I think I would like them to come and explain.
I found it very helpful. If that makes you feel better, but I do also understand that why you guys would want to hear it for yourself. I think we might be able to arrange that.
Okay.
Like it.
Dawn, can you tell me what you found particularly helpful about the briefing?
I think taking them at their word, they were very open about the issues that they've had and what they're doing to fix them on the customer service side and the billing side. And then I was very happy to hear them confirm that based on the city's request, they are going to conduct the audit of the sales tax. And I was also happy to hear that they have been giving us the franchise fee based on the bills that have been going out, not just what's been collected.
Dawn, the audit that you mentioned, that's not just the Bolivar sales tax. That's the way that they collect and remit sales tax in all of the different municipalities they serve?
Yes, but they would have to break it down by municipality because everybody's going to be a little bit different.
Oh, sure. I just don't think it takes until Q1 of 27 to audit just ours, but it makes more sense that process and the bidding and all of that would be more protracted if they're trying to do it for their entire service area.
And they only have to do it for Missouri, not for the other states so it would not be.
Mr. Elford.
I actually contacted Tracy today to see if they've already selected the vendor. They have not.
Okay.
Just kind of gives you an idea where they are.
Sure. Yeah, I could sort of see from the the diagram that they gave us. So it sounds like the meeting that you had was helpful in providing information about their general policies and procedures, and maybe not particularly long on details about the specifics of what has happened with Bolivar. Just sort of, this is what our normal practices are. And if we have questions about what specifically has happened in Bolivar, am I right in thinking that we would be better served by doing whatever we can on our end to chase down the specifics of our financials before we meet with them? Because if they're going to give us another presentation on this is our general practice, this is how we're dealing with the billing issues, this is what we're doing, that doesn't seem like it's going to address the specific questions that have been raised by some of the aldermen. So I'm wondering if just this order of sequence of events, it would be better for us, whatever information we're going to collect, that you've mentioned already, us going and talking with Natalie, talking with Paula, trying to figure out this information, if we should have that information in hand in order to make that meeting as productive as possible.
And if I can help you with that thought process just a little bit.
Yes,
the
absolutely.
information that I've gathered from Thomas, there is no research to be done on remittances from Liberty because we only get a check and a check stub. We don't get kilowatt hours, how much they charge for it, and how. There's no explanation, just a total, here's your money.
And is it the same check? I mean, there's one check for franchise fee and one check for the sales tax would be handled differently,
Sales tax
right?
comes from the state.
Yeah.
Sales tax
Right.
comes from.
So we would have the franchise fee
Franchise
would
fee
just be
comes from
the,
Liberty, and
Okay.
that is all they give us. They give us a check with no explanation of how they came to that amount. So research is
right.
nil.
So Don, do you have any further input on what kind of research we should be doing in order to make that a productive discussion?
Oh, just off the top of my head, whatever we've been getting is 2% of a number. We should be able to go back to Liberty and see if they can confirm or give us some numbers as
Okay.
to what their billing number is
I'd
for
like-
that 2% and see if we're on track to come close to matching.
I'd like a justification of, does it match what they collected to what they remitted? 2% is what they're charging, 1.96 is what we're supposed to be getting. They say we're getting the full 2%, we just don't know. And what happens to that 0.04% now, because they,
Right.
by law, collected too much?
Right. No, I think that's a very fair question. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, so I don't work in finance, but I feel like that particular mathematical function would not take a super long time to run. What is this number 2% of, or 1.94 whatever percent of?
0.96.
But what I want to avoid is a situation where they come, they give us the presentation on all of what they're doing, and then we say, well, what about this specific question? And then they say, well, we would need this information from you. And we don't have that information to give them. And so then we all go home and we have to set up another meeting in the future.
Don, you might refresh my memory. Was that not one of the questions we wanted to ask of them? And did they actually answer besides, well, we've been getting 2%, and we're giving you 2%?
We asked them to help us come up with a process by which we could, without spending thousands and thousands of dollars, audit the franchise fee. At the meeting, they were told, or Thomas and I were told, that all they were prepared to tell us at the meeting was that we've been getting the 2% of the billing, not what's actually come in the door,
And
and
yet,
that was all we got.
and yet they had that request ahead of time, so shouldn't they have come to the meeting with suggestions on how to help us resolve this issue?
I guess in a perfect world, but again, to be fair to them, they were very, very open with us, and they're trying to address the problems, I guess is what I should say. I'll take the blame if I didn't follow up with specific enough questions, but
Well-
we can.
Concern I have, Don, is we've been dealing with this for 2.5 years now, and they've been open with the problems they've been having for 2.5 years. The problems are the same. To me, what they bring in, what they bill Bolivar customers in a month should be readily available. They should have a number that this is what we generate, because if they're giving us 2% or 1.961%, it should be based off that. So they should be able to say, hey, for the month of December, Bolivar's customers were billed $10 million. And we can say, hey, 2% of $10 million, I'm not a mathematician, so I'm not going to do that math in my head. I think it's like 200,000, give or take, maybe somewhere around in there. I don't know if that's even. But we can then say, this is what they gave us for December, and we can take that number divided by 0.02, and those two numbers should equal the same. So, I mean, I don't know how many thousands of dollars it should take for them to say, this is what we did in December, and I'll say, hey, Natalie or Paula, what did we get in franchise fees in December? Well, this is what we got. Okay, well, if we do the math, those two numbers hey, they're exactly identical. Now, the question becomes, that 2% instead of the 1.961, where does it go? But if there's a discrepancy, it should be pretty easy to see. So I guess the question I would have is, if we want Liberty to come here and say, hey, bring your revenues for your Bolivar customers on electricity for 3 months, and then we can say this is what because according to the ordinance, they're supposed to pay us every single month for the franchise fee. So we should say, hey, this month, this is what it was, and it should be super easy to figure out. If we're getting all 2%, if we're not getting 2%, and they're keeping, part of it, where's that going? So I guess my question would be, how hard would it be to have Liberty come here and say, this is 2 or 3 months worth of what we made off of utilities in the city? And I think, I know from all the meetings I've gone to, it's not Algonquin, that's the parent company, which is, Liberty's this, all the way down. But I'm pretty sure that the parent company is a publicly traded company, so their finances should be readily available, but I just don't know how the breakdown to Bolivar specifically, how that would work. So, I mean, with your conversation with them, would it be hard, do you think, for them to come in and say, this is what we get from Bolivar in electricity this month, last month, the month before?
I don't think so, but I'll follow up and have a report in 2 weeks.
Okay. And I would still like to extend that invitation for them to come to a meeting.
I would like us to be very explicit about any information we want them to arrive with, because otherwise, and I don't necessarily even mean that pejoratively. Like, people ask you things and you don't have we ask Natalie something, she doesn't have it right in front of her, Thomas doesn't have it. It happens to all of us all the time. But if we've said, we want, exactly like what you said, we would like these numbers, be ready, we want to ask you about these numbers, and they can tell us, we can't give you those because of whatever, or they can respond to that. But I would like to avoid we'll have to get back to you with that, and then nothing ever happens, and
Sure.
we have the same thing in 6 months.
I mean, I thought we were pretty specific with questions before, and so, we can be specific again. I mean, that's no problem.
What we've discussed tonight, I kind of feel like we're reiterating exactly what we discussed before on the questions we had, and I don't know.
Counselor, does that give a clear path?
Yes, I believe it does.
All right, is there any more discussion that we need, or have we made it clear how we want this to proceed? It seems we have. So we'll put it back in your hands, Counselor, and we will wait for either the arrival of the representative, or at least a report from you when we get the exact numbers or the exact information that we want. So, is it fair to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm entertaining a motion for the first reading of Bill number 2026-30.
First reading.
Second.
Counselor?
This is bill number 2026-30, ordinance number 4137, an ordinance authorizing a memorandum of understanding for the city's membership and participation in the Southwestern Missouri Rural Communities Addiction Response Network.
Mrs. Bravata, would you care to step forward and enlighten us, please?
Thank you all so much for allowing me to come and speak to you about this. My name is Christina Bravata. I'm the Director of Grants Management at Citizens Memorial Hospital. We are applying for a HRSA grant called HRSA Impact, and part of our grant application requires a consortium, a network of community leadership in our region. You can see, you all have a copy of the MOU? Yes?
We do.
Yes.
We have a variety of a multi-sector network in our region that will be part of this if we are awarded. If we are not awarded, unfortunately, this MOU will go nowhere. Just kidding. But hopefully we will be awarded, and this grant will help support our addiction recovery clinic here in our town that serves about 400 patients a month through medication-assisted treatment, counseling, peer support, case management, and behavioral therapy. And it'll also support our mobile integrated health network, which provides primary care through our community paramedics, behavioral health care through a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, maternity care through a certified lactation consultant, and this grant will also expand that the mobile integrated health network to include peer support, a NP who will provide medication-assisted treatment for addiction in homes, and more behavioral health support in homes. This will support families across the CMH service area, so not just Polk County. Right now, the Mobile Integrated Healthcare Network has served, I think, over 800 patients at this point. It started about a year ago. So it's really about reaching high-risk, high-need families, and with the goal of not only bringing services to them, but trying to avoid unnecessary usage of emergency services that many individuals utilize almost as a primary care instead of a true emergency. This MOU would require a representative to come to meetings. It could be somebody from fire department, or our police department, or whoever was interested in hearing more about what we are doing collaboratively as a group. There is also going to be a piece of this award, about $60,000 to $80,000 per year for our community partners. We have utilized grant funds in this way in the past to support sober housing or safe housing, food banks, etc. So what questions can I answer?
Well, I take it that this lengthy document that's included in our packet is your working document. I mean, that's...
Yes. So right now, this is a competitive federal award. They're awarding 80 grantees nationwide, which is actually a pretty good number. Usually it's around 40. So when we apply...
Does this come from the opioid settlement?
No, this has nothing to do with opioid settlement funds. This is funding that's coming through HHS down through the Health Resources Services Administration, HRSA, down to the Rural Community Opioid Resource Program, RCORP. They are very good to rural communities. We have received 4 RCORP awards in the past. And right now, the gold standard for part of the application is to have an MOU with our partners. So that's why you're seeing an MOU for the first time. In the past, our RCORP awards have had a letter of support from the city, but we're really kind of up in the ante here with our application, just showing the committee, showing the HRSA that we really have committed partners.
Okay, so this is a statement of, this is a more formalized statement of support.
Correct.
For the rural community addiction response.
Correct.
Questions and comments from?
I mean,
Go ahead, Mr. Ross.
I mean, I think it's great. You know, you guys do a great job. You and your husband have done very, very well in the community as far as that goes. So yeah, I think it's something that, that we should definitely get behind to support, so.
Thank you.
Further questions or comment? Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just because this memorandum of understanding would obligate our police and fire to fulfill certain responsibilities, I did want to give an opportunity if our police chief or our fire chief wanted to weigh in about their level of enthusiasm for the project or their concerns about having to go to another meeting or anything like that. Before we say, yeah, sure, they have time, they're not doing anything else, just make sure that we're all.
We got two thumbs up. We got two thumbs up.
Thank you.
We're always
To make
supportive
sure.
of these types of programs.
I suspected, but I wanted to make sure they had an opportunity to weigh in.
Okay. Further questions and comments? Then I am entertaining a motion for the second reading of Bill number 2026
Second reading?
30.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor's gonna
Whoop, I'm sorry. Oh, goodness.
This is Bill number 2026-30, ordinance number 4137, an ordinance authorizing a memorandum of understanding for the city's membership and participation in the Southwestern Missouri Rural Communities Addiction Response Network.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Rains.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Price.
Aye.
Aye.
Sagasser.
Aye.
By a vote of 7 ayes and 0 noes, we have approved Bill number 2026-30, and we thank you so much, Mrs. Bravado, for
Thank
coming
you.
here and all the wonderful work that you do.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I'm entertaining a motion for the first reading of Bill number 2026-31.
First reading.
Second.
Counselor?
This is Bill number 2026-31, ordinance number 4138, an ordinance approving and establishing an acceptable use policy for the Pilot's Lounge located at the Bolivar Municipal Airport.
Mr. Alford, could you give us an update on that, please?
Yeah,
We saw this
I
here
think,
in the
yep,
packet.
the board approved and we purchased a dedicated pilot lounge out at the airport. And Mr. Brown has drafted a use policy, and we'll have everybody that uses this to read and obey the rules.
Yeah, it seemed like it's a pretty lengthy document for a lounge, but I guess you have to, there's I's and T's that go along with all this, and so.
Seth
I
is
guess
here.
that's-
If you have any specific questions, I'm sure he could answer them.
Further questions and comments from the board? All right, then I'm entertaining a motion for the second reading.
Second reading.
Of Bill 2026-31.
Second.
Counselor?
This is Bill number 2026-31, ordinance number 4138, an ordinance approving and establishing an acceptable use policy for the Pilot's Lounge located at the Bolivar Municipal Airport.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ross.
Aye.
Ballard.
Aye.
Price.
Aye.
Sawyer. Sagasser. Rains.
Aye.
Aye.
By a vote of 7 ayes and 0 noes, we have approved Bill number 2026-31. Mr. Lee, would you care to update? Oh, is he here?
Yes.
I thought he stepped out. Oh, there he is.
Right here.
Oh, there you go. Concerning the item number 6 and 7, that is now an item 7.
Yes, as a follow-up to our the board's approval at our last meeting, you have here the summary of bidders that we reached out to regarding the reinforced concrete box culverts. As a reminder, this money will be reimbursed through the DNR ARPA funds that were associated with the Albany project. I would just note that what we're recommending here is a selection of the vendor. The final price, as we move through the approval with DNR ARPA, will follow what I described at last meeting, which would be to maximize the funding available. We may purchase additional box culverts more than what are listed here, up to that total that we discussed at the last meeting. But again, that is to maximize the funds that are actually available within the DNR ARPA funds. So the recommendation, the low bidder for the comparable products was Noble Concrete.
By a considerable amount. Did that kind of
Enough that we checked to verify that it
Yeah.
included the same specifications and included delivery and items like that. It was enough that we checked it, but you see it varies. It's about $6,000 less than the closest bidder, but
Yeah.
But yeah, they're a little bit.
That kind of jumps out at you, really.
Yeah, they're a little bit closer than some, and I know that shipping costs is significant on these. So.
Okay. Questions and comments from the board?
Yes, what number did we discuss on how many we would eventually be buying?
The total ARPA funds that are available are right around 48. Some of that we're waiting on, some 48,000. We're waiting on some final numbers. So with this coming in lower than I expected to see it more in that $35,000 range. So it came in a little bit lower. We've identified a couple other locations that we could implement some box culverts. So we'll look to spend right to that 48. I believe the board, I don't have that right in front of me. I believe board approved up to 5,000 over that for the cost of installation,
Okay. Yes,
renting
thank you for the
equipment.
reminder.
I hope to stay closer to that 48 number, all within the ARPA, but it still just waits to be seen. Like I described the last time, I want to use all of those dollars if possible. ARPA wants us to use all of those dollars. I think that's the best for the city to maximize that,
All right.
but that would be the additional.
Thank you.
With no further comments, those in favor of approving the recommendation for the noble concrete for the box culverts, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We have approved noble concrete for the box culverts.
Do we need an actual motion for that?
Did we get a motion on that?
Oh, did we not get an motion?
I don't
Ah!
think we did
You
the
just took it upon
I'm sorry.
first part of that.
All right, we'll go back.
I was thinking.
I'm entertaining a motion for the approval of the of recommending noble concrete for the box culverts on Albany.
So moved.
Second.
Once again, I'm sorry. Those in favor say aye,
Aye.
and those opposed no. We actually have officially, truly approved noble concrete for the box culverts. Let's see. Where are we here? Oh, here we are.
Number 7.
Okay. All right. Mr. Lee, once again, the selection of an engineer on the Aldrich Road, please. The striping and
Yes.
blocking.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have a recommendation here to utilize the services of CJW for the design of striping along Aldrich Road. The intent, I've discussed this, I think, briefly in the past with the board, but the intent is to include, when we overlay Aldrich, to include an on-street bike lane that would be from Mesa. And our intent is to coordinate with MoDOT through their maintenance area also all the way to the county road. And I am spacing that one that would be adjacent to our Womack Road, but on the other side of Highway 13. And so this is now already the signed path for connection to the Ozark Greenways Trail. We are trying to improve the signage for it. That's been a community, request through various things, including our comprehensive plan and our the bike ped committee has requested that at times, and a follow up to our study on the bridge and all of that. But the reason CJW and some might wonder, well, why not other firms can and we were specific in it. CJW already has some traffic study and initial striping that was associated with the Simon Square project when that came in. So we did directly solicit them and, had some initial conversations about, their capabilities in that. This was done through the process that the board approved a couple meetings ago regarding the LPA on-call format that meets MoDOT standards. And so that's what we're requesting or recommending is to use CJW for this. And I will hopefully have then an update next meeting once I've got with them on the scope of services and how we'll proceed with that actual timeline on the project. The trail, just for reference for folks, it would also include an off-road portion, so not on the existing pavement, new 8-foot at minimum multi-use path from Mesa to the trailhead connection at Aldrich, the crossing on Aldrich there near Morrisville Road.
Okay.
So.
All right. Questions and comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion of approval for the striping for CJW to do the bike striping.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We have approved CJW for the bike striping. All right. Okay, Mr. Lee, if you will talk to it, we went out to the salt shed, and I think you have some ideas about what we ought to be doing.
Yes. So the next item there is we're requesting to purchase out of our the streets insurance funds some solar lights. These are street light type. In fact, they'd be the same style as was installed there at Aldrich and Faith. We were happy with both the install and the product as well as the light output. Hopefully folks have been able to see that there at that intersection. And in our original design for our relocation of the salt shed, many folks know it used to be behind the rec center. It now is an updated, a much improved system out at our public works, behind our public works area. But lights are something that are essential for most of the snow operations. A significant amount of snow operations are done in the dark, and having those lights out there would be important for us. We have insurance funds. Again, I've mentioned to the board a need, I think, to spend those funds down as we invest in our facilities and all.
Okay. Questions and comments from the board?
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
This is for 3 lights, a significant amount of money, and does not include installation.
We do the install.
Okay. Street department does the install?
Yes, as we did on the Faith and Aldrich, Faith and Aldrich. light as well.
And do you happen to know what the install cost us in man hours and all of that for the Faith Street solar light?
I mean, I could get a breakdown of it. I mean, the pier, and then you have to construct the light. You construct it about 80% and then put it together on site and raise it up.
So it wouldn't be inconceivable that we would then be up to at least 30,000 for 3 lights.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Salt shed really require the specifications that these lights have?
Yeah, the light output that they would. No, we could go to a more traditional like electric light and pull off of that. Pull. We may have to have Liberty set a transformer and things like that.
And I'm not looking at electric. I fully support the solar option.
Sure.
My thought process is more along the lines of, this is a lot of money for 3 lights.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, they're commercial grade, like street lights.
Do we really need a commercial grade street light when a good, actually what you're looking at is a municipal grade, not even commercial. It goes above and beyond. Wouldn't we be just as good with a good commercial like they would use anywhere in any parking lot?
Well, I don't know that there's a significant difference between what's listed here for a solar light that has this kind of output with what you or someone might refer to as a commercial versus a municipal grade.
Right.
But for the light output that's provided, it's really for us was looking at the area that we need to provide light for. And what was the option on? I don't think there is a significantly less expensive solar option
Right.
to produce the amount of light that we need to produce. Because it's really a safety issue. You have a loader, multiple trucks coming and going, and so it's just a large area that we are trying to produce light for, just like you would in a street and things like that, which is why we would want to go for this larger light output.
So question I have, So these would be the equivalent of about 3 streetlights, is what you're
Correct,
saying?
yeah.
Okay. So how big of an area are we talking about out there? Because I know that, and I've had this conversation before, if somebody comes in and says, hey, my street is dark or it's not lit well, can, you know, potentially explores a light, our standard is it 500 feet between street light to street light?
400, but yeah.
400, and that
Yeah.
should cover. So for 3 street lights, we should be looking at 1,200.
Well, the primary difference would be in this location, we want to produce something like dawn daylight production. On a street, we might want to produce 5 candle watt there. So we're wanting, because of safety, to produce a much higher light output in this location than we want to produce, or really we could want to produce that higher light output at a street. That wouldn't be a problem necessarily, but there's a balance because of the developer cost. There might be a balance because of residents and things like that. But I'm saying if you're speaking strictly safety, there's a balance because of the cost that you're pushing to the developer. Additionally, you know, you could shrink from 400 feet to 300 feet, 200 feet. I mean, that could progressively change.
I mean, I'm in the same boat, Trish. Is I mean, 21,000 for 3 lights.
And that's
You know,
not
out there,
installation.
and you know, just seems a bit much.
How much was the one we put in at Faith?
I mean, it was this cost on the singular. It was this single.
3 of them is 3 times as much as
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
of them.
I guess my thing is I don't know that we need 3 of them.
I did
for
vote
that.
yes ultimately on the one at Faith, but I still had a problem with the price.
Sure.
We're talking about a higher quality setup, and we
I would
want,
also like to know why we only had 1 bid. And I know it says it's specialized, but it's really not as specialized as what I think everyone assumes. Solar is everywhere.
Well, actually, solar streetlights of this quality are limited. When we pursued this, it took an extremely long time to get competitive bids. This was the most competitive bid for this quality of light. It actually is very limited. That market is not as broad. I know Alderman Saxter remembers that we've worked on this for a long time to come to a provider that then we also, I mean, I will say the install, you know, this is something we have done, you know, so if we saved $1,000 on a different light, I at this point wouldn't likely recommend that just because we know the product that we've got here. That was part of the test case, you
Right.
know, in the
And
existing one.
Was that the same company we used before?
This
or
is.
This is?
Yes, this is.
So we didn't go to Sourcewell, we just used the vendor that we had dealt with before.
Well, originally, what you do in this case is we go to any vendor that will respond to us who also is qualified to give a price, Sourcewell or the HGAC and all of that purchasing agreements. And then we took those. This was the superior of those bids or of those offerings. So we did not redo that for this purchase. We are recommending this purchase based on our work on the just most recent previous purchase.
Kyle, will the light generated at the new location, will it be comparable to the light that was generated at the old location? Do you know?
That'd be far superior.
Or superior?
Yeah.
Okay, so was that something
Light
that-
was a tremendous issue
Okay.
At the previous location. I mean, partly because of the structure and everything, but a lot of, you know, we would have to run multiple vehicles could be out there with headlights and things like that. I mean, that's what we're trying to move away from and I understand the concern. I mean, I would like cheaper lights and all of that as well. I think that when you're looking at these kinds of things, for me, the recommendation is primarily based on safety and putting out, it would be a much more tremendous light output, but because of your usage, that is the intent, not because you are just trying to generally, you know, light an area for a common use. It's in this time we've got people that may be in and out of vehicles in bad weather,
Right.
blowing snow, these kinds of things, and we're trying to, you know, cross the limit. And if the board wants to be reassessed in some way or get some different report from, the company about specifically light output and things like that, those things can be done. This is based on, what we've observed and seen from the company, production on the previous light and our recommendation for the area that we need to cover.
And can I ask, is the intention that they be positioned? So part of what I'm envisioning is if you have an area like that where you're actively working, you might not want all of your light to come from one location, because then you're talking about shadows and visibility is reduced. And so if you want to actually be able to see what you're doing, you're going to want lights in multiple locations so that you're not in the shadow of the big snowplow or whatever while you're working. So as part of the idea between multiple lights, to make sure that you have the sort of full coverage wherever you are, there is light falling on your workspace. Does that
Yeah,
make
and
sense what I'm saying?
we originally looked at, mounting lights like on the structure itself, and we didn't feel like that would give us the spread on the field area that we felt like we needed, and, things like that. So yeah, it's all part of that consideration, and shading or, shadowing would be a concern as well.
And do you know, once these lights are installed, is it at all possible to relocate them?
Yeah,
Or are they permanently affixed?
they're just like they're a bolt-on attachment. I mean, the concrete that you put in the ground is permanent, but that's one of the lower cost parts of it. But the bolt-on light itself could be moved. Yeah, absolutely.
So if for some reason we ended up deciding that we didn't need as much light there,
We could install.
We could put it somewhere
it-
else where we
One,
did need.
two, whatever.
You could install it anywhere in the city that the
Right.
board wanted to.
Okay.
Because it's solar, obviously, it has that flexibility. Yeah, you could put it at a park or at a,
Mm-hmm.
at another street location or something.
This is something we're not gonna truly need until we need the salt again, right? We don't
Yeah,
really need it tomorrow or next month.
our intent would just be to purchase and install them, before the snow season. So by November, December, of this year. Normally, our snowstorms are late December, January through February timeframe.
How long does it take for them to provide it? Is there any kind of delay?
It's pretty quick. I think they say within 6 weeks. Their last lead time was maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I think.
And how long does it take you, the street department, to handle the install, given what other projects they have?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that can be done on rainy days, a little bit, because you construct it in the shop and then you set it. So I don't really see that being an issue. It would fit pretty much anywhere in our timeline the rest of the year. So yeah, it's not to that point. I mean, if there's more information that the board would like to see, I can happily provide it.
Do we know if these prices, is there a deadline on the prices? If we ended up waiting, would we be potentially looking at a different price if other factors contribute to rising costs?
I mean, the quote expiration here is 6/19 of 26. So I can tell you this price is, I believe it's exactly the same as the previous one. So
We bought
I
that
just,
in
I-
July.
no, it was like right at the end of 25. I'd have to look, but it was right here, maybe November or something. So 6-8 months ago, something like that. Yeah. So haven't seen them super volatile. Obviously, the geopolitical world has changed a bit since that time frame. So I'm not sure that shipping costs and things like that
Sure.
could change. But
You guys voted on that in December because I wasn't.
okay.
Yeah,
It was towards the end of the
We
year.
talked about it for a little while.
So, I mean, I understand that there are aldermen who have reservations about the price. My thought, since it's coming out of insurance proceeds, would be to go ahead and get it purchased now, and have that be ready. But if other people are not ready to make that decision, I understand that.
I would like to see more comparison of prices, just to make sure we're still in the price.
Was it
Mr. S-
No, it's
It's
no, it's not.
insurance
It's recommended
proceeds.
out of our insurance. Yeah. So
Which we have
And just because we have insurance funds doesn't mean, okay, we have the money, let's spend it. It needs to be stretched, get as much bang for our buck as we
yeah,
can.
absolutely. We are only recommending items that would have longevity to them.
Sure.
Mr.
And
Sager,
I
sir?
think if
I'm sorry.
that is good till June, the end of June, we have time to get one or two more bids at least, right?
Whatever the
If
board
they
says.
respond.
I mean,
If
I would.
Time was
There's
the question, and
certainly
that's
no
your
problem
question.
making the effort. So
Okay, so,
Mr. Sager, sir, I thought did you have a,
I'll make the motion that we go ahead and purchase 3 lights.
I'll second.
okay. Further discussion?
I did have one quick question.
Go ahead, please.
The extra line item on there, the gateway function to connectivity, is that a standard thing, or is that something that we could maybe opt out of? Or
Yeah. Let me.
I don't know
ch-
that they need to be connected. I mean,
No,
it's,
we did opt out of that on the other. So let me look at that.
Okay.
But I believe that this was just their estimate, but our purchase would likely not include that.
I just saved you $1,400. Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor of the recommendation for Southwell or Fonrange lighting for the salt shed, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. We have
Can we
approved.
have a show of hands?
Yes, please. Or a roll
Just
call.
do a roll
Okay,
call.
Madam,
Roll call
Madam
would be
Clerk,
good.
please call the roll.
Sawyer,
Aye.
Rice,
Nay.
Ballard,
Does the motion include the removal of that extra $1,400,
Yes.
essentially? Okay. Aye.
Ross,
Nay.
Sagasser,
Aye.
Rains,
Nay.
Neal,
Aye.
Wilson,
By a vote of 4 ayes and,
I'm gonna abstain.
I'm sorry?
He's
I'm
gonna
abstain to the
abstain.
vote.
I'm sorry? What?
He's
He's gonna abstain.
Mr. Wilson is on the.
It's online, and he's
abstained.
abstaining.
He's on-
Abstain, okay. By a vote of 4 ayes and 3 nays, we have approved the purchase of the recommended
Do abstain.
lighting of the salt shed from Sourcewell.
Counselor,
Yeah.
I have a question. Counselor, is what?
Yes.
I was under the understanding that we could only abstain if it like there was a benefit to us personally. Is it okay to abstain for other reasons?
Generally, it should only be done for a conflict of interest.
Okay.
I don't
Counselor,
know.
I have one question for you then. I did not
Yes.
hear I did not hear the conversation. I'm showing up late, so I don't want to vote on something that I did not hear discussion on.
Someone want to give him a recap?
Okay. Then, I mean, I think the proper, I cannot tell you what to do, but abstention probably would not be appropriate because it's not a conflict of interest. However, if you don't have the information you need to vote in the affirmative, then I can't tell you what to do, but it would be either a yes or a no.
Okay.
I'll say what Don doesn't want to tell you, which is that it's perfectly fine to say I'm not going to vote yes until I've been persuaded to a yes. And so in the absence of that information, I'm going to default to no. That would be a fine thing for you to do if you wanted to do that. If you want to defer to the narrow majority that currently exists with the other 7, that's also fine. You are free to make that choice. But it would not be inappropriate to say, because I missed this, I have not been persuaded to a yes vote. I think that would be fine too.
And at this
Okay,
late
so my
date,
understanding, and I'm just reaffirming, so we've had other people vote on things that they probably shouldn't have, and then we've had some people abstain. So if the vote is 4-3, correct, for yes?
yes,
That is correct.
correct.
All right, so I'm going to vote nay, and then that gives the mayor the power to make the choice.
Okay. With a vote of 4 ayes and 4 nays, the chair will vote aye, so the motion passes. So we have approved for Sourcewell to purchase the lighting for the salt shed. All right, Mr. Lee and Mr. Relaford have.
Yes, sir.
Going to bring
So,
us up to date on that.
We, this wasn't included in the packet because it was kind of a late request. Am I missing one? Oh. Yep, so this is an updated project list that we put together for our large projects. You'll see the name here on the left-hand column, kind of go through here, the different status and comments and the priorities. So we wanted to present this to the board for their review and input as far as priorities and things that they might want us to focus on. And we can answer any questions about any of these projects.
Is there, I see.
So a question I have,
List here.
the downtown sidewalk, Broadway, Main, and Springfield, is that, what does that entail? Is that the grant we got, or is that just redoing the ones that are?
That's redoing the sidewalks on the north side.
Okay.
And that, if you recall, Mr. Ross, we sent out letters to the business owners, and we're doing a project with them where they would provide the material and we would do the work.
Right.
Some of the owners have taken us up on that, but there are several that we're still waiting on an answer from. So that is something we would like to do, but we can't do that until we have the signed documents.
So a question I have on that, and just as far as, like, I appreciate we're going to mail out documents to owners on the square. Could we maybe streamline that, and, like, if we haven't heard back from some, like, actually go to the businesses on the square instead of like, oh, hey, you know, the
No,
letters in the mail.
there's been repeated efforts.
I've on every one except for one that is out of state and has not been responsive to phone calls. I've made at least verbal contact with the person in addition to the emails and including multiple mailings to some of the contacts.
Okay.
In that case, depending on where the locations are, if there's, I know we don't really want to piecemeal it, if you can keep from it, but if there's one hanging up the whole project, is there thought of moving forward?
The board in a moment is going to also vote on a sidewalk procedures, and you may at some future time elect to have us proceed, and then the cost would be fully on, if you elect to approve that, and then it would be fully on those property owners, which would be invoiced and then could ultimately include a special tax bill on the property. So that, in that sense, I think we'll talk about that in the next item.
That's fair.
If there are changes made to the city's policies as a result of the action we're looking at momentarily, will that information be communicated to the property owners to maybe help?
The
things up a
policy
little
will. Oh, you mean?
Well, just say like,
to
hey,
help
by the
speed
way,
along the signing of an
I'm just saying,
agreement.
like, hey, by the way, this is the new policy,
Yes,
and this
yeah.
is the chance, and you run the risk of in the future this policy now exists.
I mean, I'd be happy to share the letter with anyone that
Okay.
wants to see it, but that information was generally communicated already in the
never mind
letter. I think I would need a little bit of clarity on the disposition of the board, and I think the voting of that policy and the discussion we might have on that point would give me that clarity if
Okay.
the intent of the board is to proceed in that way.
Okay, thank you.
Can you tell me about the refurbishing of the old salt shed? What does that entail?
That's for the Rock the Wreck. Yeah, so we went out and actually looked at that today to see what we want to do. This year, we've only budgeted $5,000, so we're going to do repair some structural issues and make some cosmetic improvements.
Okay, because I remember last year's Rock the Wreck, and we were very thankful that that salt shed was there.
Very much so.
And it worked out wonderfully.
Yep, I think it's a great venue. We just want to make it better. If you've been out there lately, man, there's a lot of tin that's been blown off, and there's some wood rot and some other things that need to be repaired.
All right, thank you.
One question I have is, it seems like August is going to be a very, very busy month. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Drainage and bridge.
6 of our, I mean, there's probably 13, 14 total that should be completed around, I mean, the top 5 are all August 31st. I understand it's the expected completion, so some of them are going to be done before then. But I mean, is that
Most of that is driven, that date and those prioritize prioritizing them as high is mostly driven because that is the ARPA timeline for us to have those box culverts installed. So yes, we'll begin that work hopefully late June if I'm able to procure the box culverts that quickly. And then that work will be our highest priority through July and August as weather permits. But yes, that's the reason. And yeah, it's keen to note that we will be heavily focused on those items because of the funding as well.
So a couple of ones that are, over in Ward 2 that got East Parkview stormwater pending easement execution. Are we still trying to get easements over there? I mean, that's been
A long time.
6-7 months now.
Yes, so the property owners actually both had communicated with me. They had some questions about the easements. We made some modifications. Don made those modifications, and the easements were sent back, within a couple days of their request for modifications. It did take a while for them to respond initially, but they do have them again. I have not received a response yet. I've let them know that we're ready to notarize those as soon as, if and when they are ready to execute those documents.
When's the last communication you've had with them? Do you know off the top hand?
Email on Monday. I texted the one property owner that had been texting, that had been their communication. I did that earlier today or Monday, late Monday. I think it was earlier today. Actually, it flows together, but I think it was earlier today.
Okay, and then the other one, the speed table on 4th Street, it says, no bids received, continue direct solicit for pricing.
Yeah, so we, oddly enough, and it is odd, honestly, we directly solicited a number of providers for these modular speed tables, and none responded to our bid requests. But we did have some email communication with one that we asked to supply a sealed bid. They didn't. But I think we're going to see something maybe come in at a lower cost that we've already met our bidding requirement because we went out to bid. We didn't have any responses. So our next step either way would be to solicit directly. And I think we'll be able to do that and have that come under that $10,000 limit anyhow. So as soon as we can do that, the bid opening was today.
Okay.
So we couldn't take any other action until that. So
That's all I had.
I wanted to ask about the customer service remodel. We're supposed to be done with that next week. How are we coming on that?
Great. We moved furniture in today, so just put some finishing touches on it. It looks really nice.
And is everything moving back in there? Are you going to utilize this front desk at all?
No, everything will move back into that new area.
Because I kind of liked someone's.
Too, but doesn't seem to have a function.
North Flint demolition, final site grading, is that requiring more dirt brought in?
All of the dirt that we felt we needed for that, we acquired on site at the shop, but because of weather and then because of citywide cleanup, we weren't able to totally complete that site grading. So obviously we're trying to make sure it doesn't have pooling water and things
So
like
that
that. that it's fine.
$32,000 that we've already spent there.
There's
and
no
we're-
additional costs. There won't be any additional costs than what was.
No more hourly wage to go back and do this finished grading?
We projected that out on that detail.
Okay.
Comments? Seeing none, we will entertain a motion for the first reading of Bill number 2026-32.
First reading.
Second.
Counselor?
This is bill number 2026-32, ordinance number 4139, an ordinance amending the Bolivar Municipal Code by amending portions of Chapter 510 of the code regarding construction and repairs of sidewalks.
Comments and questions? I have a comment and question.
Are you waiting on that? So we're going to have to go to Psalm 1.
I guess this is a complete. I take it. It's a pretty well complete. Is this a complete redoing of our sidewalk policy?
I wouldn't say complete, but there's a lot of changes have been made.
Yeah, and you know, you long ago tired of my talking about my legislative experience, but I know when we'd get bills to come to the committee, there would be if a law was being amended, they have the old law, and what was being undone would be stricken out, and the new would be highlighted. So I was just curious, really, what changes this has made, and without going into laborious detail about what our policy has been.
Okay, we could do that.
So, which I know Alderman Price may want to speak to some of this as well, because she had been requesting some of these and then involved in that. So, but I will say some of the main and primary changes were the method in which if you look at 510.015, the method in which a sidewalk can be directed to be replaced within the city. Our existing code allows a number of citizens, and that number is low at 10, allows 10 citizens to sign a petition for a sidewalk to be installed anywhere in town, and the wording for the board is that the board shall cause such a sidewalk to be constructed, and that it shall be charged to the property owners along that frontage. So
we're doing one of these maze to shalls to maze dances.
Well, shalls to may, and on that point we changed.
Of course, yeah, it's huge. Yeah, I mean,
and on that point we
everything.
also detailed that it should be if it's a petition from the citizens, that it should be signed by at least 50% of the corridor that's being recommended for a sidewalk. So if you have a city block, whatever 50% of the people who would actually be the ones charged, to construct the sidewalk, that they would be signers of such a petition, so that essentially they would have some.
What's read in here.
That's what's in here,
Yeah.
correct? So that's the first, I would say, largest impact. There is a number of points within the details that change the shall to may. I think to more clarify what the board would want their position to be is the ability to exercise that right without the requirement necessarily. It also adds definitions that were not present, and including definitions for defective sidewalks. A lot of the other portions are similar in nature with those shall to may type of changes.
Sure, okay.
Though I do think on the point of our discussion a moment ago, I mean, if there's other specific questions, or Alderman Price, I know you had involvement, you may have specific comment, but I would benefit from the board's looking at and a bit of discussion of clarity for practice on 510.065. And I can describe, my reason for requesting that here.
There you go.
If you're looking there at 510.065. So it says, whenever the Director of Public Works shall discover or be informed that any sidewalk or portion thereof is defective, he or she may immediately repair the same or cause it to be done, and to keep an accurate account of the cost thereof, and each lot or piece of ground abutting on such sidewalk, street, avenue, or alley or part thereof shall be liable for its part of the cost of such work made along or in front of such lots or piece of ground as reported to the Board of Aldermen, and then ultimately could lead to special tax bills on the property. I think, just for the sake of clarity, it probably would be important for me to know the disposition of the board on how you'd like me to exercise the may in that in that detail, and at what speed at which, I mean, we could execute that by contractors. If and when someone informed me of a defective sidewalk, I could acquire the services of a contractor and have it repaired very quickly. If it's something that you want us to put on an annual list for the city to conduct sidewalk repairs, and we have so much done every year, and when we get to those sections, that kind of prioritization, or if you want it to, trump a priority list in some manner and things like that. So if it makes sense, I think there's a little bit of clarity that could be given from the board for how you want to
It's
see that
certainly understandable
executed.
why you'd like some clarity on this rather than it being, but at the same time, the possibility of the vastly number of circumstances that we could encounter over the years, do we gain anything, or I mean, is it turned out to be actually helpful to?
Well, I would look once again at the new section that covers definitions. And we're talking about a defective, not a hazardous sidewalk, so it wouldn't be as prioritized, I wouldn't think. Now, if it was hazardous, that would be one thing, but just a defect, I would say that's not quite as immediate. It wouldn't need.
So does that mean there's not a provision for hazardous sidewalks to be repaired at the discretion?
Actually,
think so.
maybe that should have been changed to hazardous instead of defective.
How was this document generated?
How was it generated? Like, were the changes made?
Well, a
Yeah.
lot of times when we see, so I had two questions. One is this the kind of thing that would normally go through planning and zoning
No.
first? Okay. The second one is typically when we see a draft like this, it is, I think most typically, the catalyst is staff is noticing that there's an issue, staff and council work together to draft a policy, and then they bring it to our ordinance or whatever, and they bring it to us for our review. And then the language that's in that is reflective of the best judgment of council and staff.
I guess I can answer that. It was an alderman observation, and I got a hold of Thomas and said, can we work on this? I see a lot of vagueness and conflicts in the code. So can we work on cleaning this code up?
Right,
And
but was the
between-
document itself something that you drafted and
we
submitted
took
to
the old code.
staff?
We sat down in Kyle's conference room downstairs, Kyle and his staff, Thomas and myself, and we went over the old code and just started changing mays to shalls and that kind of thing. And I think I sent a PDF attachment with my suggestions for definitions.
And then we got that information to Don Brown, and Don
And
Brown
Don
drafted
looked it
the
over
actual
and-
changes.
Yeah. Question?
No, I'm just trying to think, I'm trying to remember how often,
Oh, this code was very old.
no, it's more, my mind tends to run to procedure. I'm just
Okay.
wondering how often one individual alderman is actively involved in the drafting of a proposed change to the code. It may be that it happens all the time and I'm not
And
thinking
if
of
I
it.
overstepped, I don't know.
I
so
don't know
correct
either.
me
That's,
if
I'm
wrong.
just, like I said, my mental category is
I
staff
would've
and
thought
Don.
Don would have said something if I was.
And yeah, I guess that would be a Don question. Is there anything, just because it doesn't, again, it's, all I'm saying is it doesn't match what I'm used to seeing. I'm not trying to say that it was at all inappropriate. That's why I'm trying to ask. Don, is there any reason?
There's nothing inappropriate.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't happen all the time. It has happened before, but yeah, in my opinion, there's nothing inappropriate about it.
And I can tell you from our perspective, I thought it was a valid request by the alderman. She had good suggestions. It's something that Kyle and we've talked about in the past on several occasions. It needed to be done. I think we all knew about that 10 people come. I mean, these are things that we wanted to address, and we just sat together and went through it. And we thought there might be some input from the board, and obviously that's great. But from our perspective, we thought it was a good exercise.
Sure, I think part of what I'm a little bit trying to process is typically when we see
I think
something presented as a bill, the language has already gone through some level of being finalized. We're not normally at the bill stage nitpicking language. So when I see something that comes before me as a bill, I don't tend to think now is the time for, hey, I'm not sure if this word should be this word or this. Like it tends to be, it's been vetted, it's been through, we've either already, half the time, right, we've already voted on it at a previous meeting. We're now seeing the bill. It's something that's come up through staff who a lot of times are generating those drafts because of their subject matter expertise. So I don't know. I'm going to have to think about whether I
Don, I
have.
think that's a valid statement which you have. I mean,
And I think I think to even the mayor's point originally here that whether it's a policy or procedure, I think one thing that would alleviate all of that conversation would be do a similar procedure that we normally do through planning and zoning regulations, which includes just an initial draft that's a strike through, underline, methodology where you see the existing next to the new, and then you have that for discussion. And the reason we do that normally for planning and zoning is because then we also have a public hearing after that, and we want the public hearing to be the finalized format. This one doesn't require that because the board can make this change. But I think is from what I'm hearing, I mean, that policy or that procedure would clarify the points, and we could do that here. I mean, we could take this back and put it in a strike through, underline. I'm sure. I mean, I could work with Dawn and
Well, I don't mean to cause anybody extra trouble. I was
no,
just
it's a good.
wasn't
Yes.
sure.
It's a good suggestion anyway.
Whether it's done here or in the future ones, that's
Right, and I don't have a problem with the specific, other than wanting to clarify anything that you feel is unclear. I like the idea of what you're saying, where it puts all the aldermen on the same footing for purposes of discussing and weighing in on what that, like we do, like you said, like we do in planning and zoning, when we're saying, well, what should the setback be? Everybody has a chance to weigh in on what the setback should be. And then once there's consensus, then the final version is generated. So I think that's a good approach going forward, where, and I don't know how often it is that the first time we're seeing a change to an ordinance, especially a significant change to an ordinance, first time we're seeing it is as a bill as opposed to as a discussion item. I think a lot of times we would be more likely to discuss it first, have a consensus, and then have that expressed in a bill.
Oh, that's understandable.
Okay, so how
So-
do we change that for tonight? Where
I
tonight's
don't
the
know that
discussion?
I'm wedded to us having to change it, because like I said, I don't have a problem with the substance of this particular code change, other than I think your point, if the point about the defective, there being a procedure for discretionary repair of a defective sidewalk and not a procedure for discretionary repair of a hazardous sidewalk,
Right.
seems like perhaps a potential issue. And I didn't happen to see within that if we want there to be any expectation of communication with property owners. So if I'm a property owner of a defective sidewalk and I got a contractor coming in on Monday and you spot it on Friday and send your guys out and fix it, and I had a contractor coming in on Monday, I could see people being, and I don't know how common that would be, but that kind of, some kind of communication opportunity to discuss with the landowner as to their intentions, or
I
whether they
would
want to just take it on
agree
themselves.
that 065 needs changed. I would suggest that it's not a defective, it would be hazardous. Both need to be addressed, and there does need to be a communication time. But hazardous is an immediate concern, so I don't know how much time we could give a property owner on a hazardous sidewalk.
Just like we do with a lot of our other cases where we find your trash can's out at the curb too long, your grass is too tall. We give people a little bit of time to remedy the situation.
Right.
Even
Yeah.
if it is hazardous and unsightly and ugly. I mean, if it's been hazardous for 6 months, another 10 days is not gonna make it less hazardous.
Right, I just don't want to give them the
ju-
30 days with the
Right, no,
ability
it-
to extend it if it's
No,
truly
no.
hazardous.
So I can see that.
With sidewalks though, because it's public use, it's different than somebody's tall grass.
To some degree, but if it's been that way for a long time, and we're talking in this definitions, the difference of an inch between one side and the lower level. 3/4 of
There
an
you
inch,
go.
even less,
There you
that's not an immediate
That's-
danger. It
yeah,
is
it's
dangerous,
more-
but
Well-
the property
I
owner
just
should have a
imagine
little
as
bit of time.
runner, me running, and maybe I'm on a new
Sure.
sidewalk that I don't usually run on, and I'm
Right.
unfamiliar with it. And you guys are gonna have to come visit me in the hospital when
Sure.
I face plant, so.
Sort of, and I would say one additional point to that is, so some of the language around a hazardous condition is, collapsed, unstable, severely deteriorated. One of them is a vertical displacement greater than 1 inch and the defective is a vertical separation of 3/4 of an inch.
Hey,
And so
well, what I
it's-
was going to clarify is anything that would be hazardous has already met the defective.
Well, yes, but my point is if we're saying like, oh, well, defective is only a little bit of a problem, but hazardous is a really big deal, and I don't know if there's a difference between a vertical separation and a vertical displacement, but one is 3/4 of an inch and one is 1 inch, and so I don't know that a 1/4 of an inch different in that, at least on that particular criteria, is, you know, one is a mild inconvenience and the other is a man-eating tiger in the street. Like those are not like that. That's a pretty small difference. So maybe there's a distinction there that I'm not seeing, but. We have to make the distinction at some point. We have to have a cutoff. So we've got 3/4 of an inch, we got 1 inch.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily follow that anything that meets the requirement of hazardous is like 30 times as bad as defective.
Right. I think sometimes if you're looking at, we need to go in and fix this, it's hazardous, we need to fix it now.
Right.
Some of that is just gonna come down to common sense of your public works.
So,
Well, and that's where you have things like you said, may in the
Right.
judgment of the
Right.
director, and you can also say with communication with the property owner, if appropriate and possible under the circumstances, so that we can note in the code, we want there to be communication, but we recognize that in some cases, out-of-state owner or just we do not have time. This is a danger right now, and you leave room for that discretion.
Absolutely.
can I ask a question?
Mr. Ross.
Okay. So on this topic, I have a couple questions, Kyle. So sidewalks. If there's not a sidewalk, let's say in front of my house, can the city mandate that I put a sidewalk in? Can the city go and put a sidewalk in front of my house?
Bill you, is that what you're asking?
Well, I mean, can they do that and then bill me?
The board can.
Yes.
Okay. So here's my question. So if the city has the right to put sidewalks in where it's needed, and I'm just throwing this out there for discussion. Tell me, I almost look at sidewalks like I would look at our roads, in the fact of if they, every year we spend $400,000 a year to repave, redo roads. What would stop the city from budgeting money to go through and redo sidewalks each year, go through areas of town that sidewalks need repairs, there's no sidewalks there, and just kind of do what we do with the road, put the sidewalks in, and then maintain them. I know it's a little bit different since it's on, people's property, but I'm assuming, city has easements to do that, and then the city would go and maintain. I appreciate the thought of, hey, sidewalks all over town, but I don't appreciate the thought of the city knocking on my door and saying like, hey, you need to put a sidewalk in front of your house. Like, okay, I don't know that I will ever. Just may be shocking. I'm not a runner, so I'm probably not going to use said sidewalk, but I'm going to have to pay for said sidewalk because it's a benefit to the city. Just like a road is a benefit to the city. So why can't we as a city say, hey, if we want sidewalks, if we want better sidewalks or more maintained sidewalks, treat it like we do the roads. And I think we've all walked for campaigns before, and I can point out areas in Ward 2 that the sidewalk just magically goes under the ground halfway through
and the
the
majority
street.
of Ward 1 has no sidewalks.
In the places that don't have, and set forth a plan that says, hey, we're going to allocate this much money this year, and we're going to put, the sidewalks in. We're going to, is that and I understand you're going to be like.
I'm going to ask you to answer that, but I'm going to add just a tiny bit to it and say, now there's a premise in here, an assumption that we're going to allow grants like we do for blighted properties to apply towards sidewalks.
Sure, but if
there is a budgetary
if I look
we
at
haven't
it,
discussed how much.
And I don't disagree. I would love, but I look at it as it's something that is for the city's benefit to have well-maintained sidewalks, and it's something that I think we have the ability to do. I just assume that we do it and maintain them instead of saying like, hey, fix a sidewalk, here's a grant for you, to fix it. But that's just my thought. I would love to, kind of address this further and, put a plan together. Like, I mean, every year we have a list of 15 streets that we repave. Why can't we have a list of 15 streets that we fix the sidewalk or put new sidewalks in?
So it's multifaceted. What you said, and ultimately, I think what you're asking could be the board's ultimate objective and all of that. The cost would be considerable. So depending on how you tried to bite that off each year, right? We do right now budget. So like we planned for and constructed sidewalks along Lillian. We've planned for and constructed other sidewalks. But even when you reference roads, and again, I think the board's option is to decide how, as the city of Bolivar, you want to do it. I would say it's normative. This kind of procedure is normative within communities, whereas I get I don't disagree with like the point of it feels someone's gonna make me build a sidewalk, and that can feel a little bit, especially if you're not a common user of a sidewalk or you don't find that valuable.
I don't think that it can feel. I think that it does feel like, if the city knocked on my door and said, "Hey, you've got to build this and you've got to pay for it."
And that my point would be is in this structure, the board would make that decision. Every citizen, like every chunk of sidewalk that was built and that would occur, this board would be voting for that to occur in that instance.
Right.
And so meaning,
so we would be voting to force somebody to build a sidewalk.
And they
Or
wouldn't
not
be forced
voting
to unless we
Sure.
voted for it to
Yes.
happen.
Sure, but I mean,
We would have to say that property, build one.
But I mean, my thing is, I think we could all agree that sidewalks are a good thing. And so the minute that we say, "Hey, Justin, you have to build a sidewalk," but Trish, you don't have to. When and I mean, to me, that just create. Well, why doesn't she? Well, Justin, the board could look at. I mean, when we put, it's a subjective thing. I just assume we have sidewalks on every road. Again, it's going to cost. That would be a long, project. But okay, I mean, like we're putting sidewalks on Springfield Avenue, where we already have sidewalks, because we got an awesome grant, to do it, and it's going to be.
There you go.
But I mean, we
don't have.
And I think what you're suggesting is above and beyond a code. It's not.
I just think that if we need to repair sidewalks or put sidewalks in, the city should do it.
well,
Can
my
you answering?
the other elements I would say is that, especially even when you reference like roads, it is important to note that the city normally, the normal process is a city does not construct roads, that a developer or property owner does develop that infrastructure first. The city then takes ownership, different than sidewalks. So the long-term maintenance is, so that it would be the element like you're referring to for existing
and
sidewalks.
I'm not saying that if a developer comes and says, "I want to put a new neighborhood in," great. Moving forward, any new house has to have a sidewalk in front of it. That's not a bad thing. But again, you build a house, and I think we had this conversation, and it was a 7-1 vote, and I was the lone no of a new house that doesn't have a sidewalk to the left or right, but you've got to put a sidewalk out there. And so I have a sidewalk in front of my house that literally goes nowhere because there's no sidewalk here or here. But hey, and so my thing is, I like the thought of having sidewalks all throughout town, and I know that if we can spend $300,000-$400,000 a year on roads, maybe we can spend. And I know it may have gone up. I don't know what it costs to build a sidewalk in front of a house. I know a couple years ago when we were talking about it, it was $2,000 to put a sidewalk. So, I mean, if we budget $50,000, that's 25, new sidewalks for the year. And so I would just like us to explore that option more than the option of, and on the square, I love the idea. If they want to pay for the sidewalk's already there to fix it. If they want to pay for the material and we do the labor, that's great. But I don't like the fact of going to a homeowner and saying, "Hey, you're going to have to build a sidewalk, or we're going to put a special tax."
Well, just to clarify, on the budgeting part, we do budget to do some sidewalks per year, whether it's repair or new install. And we could budget more, like to your point. But I would also note that, I mean, this is my observation or my perception is that even with this change, my assumption is the board would continue to operate the way you're describing as we have operated as a city for a number of years, unless this board chooses to become more.
Well, the thing is, it's,
But no, Dusty, you've asked him like 4 questions and he hasn't had a chance to finish.
But I'm just saying.
I was going to respond to that one.
But unless the board, any particular board, chooses to become more aggressive, if you want to consider it that, towards the construction of sidewalks, what this in particular here does is, and again, we already talked about the genesis of this, but what this particularly here does change some of the language that right now exists as a shall, puts it to a may, and that may is the leeway to do what you're describing. That the board has discretion to say we think sidewalks are great. We don't think that we want to burden that homeowner with the construction of a sidewalk, so we are going to take it on ourselves, or we're just not going to require it right now. You would have those types of conversations. But ultimately, I will say this again, the board can decide in any way they want on this. This type of format where a property owner is responsible for the sidewalk probably has that is a more consistent approach for a city, and some of that may, I think we just have to talk about it more, like if you took the approach where it's all the city's responsibility, may bring a level of liability and requirement that would be concerning. We'd have to flush that out. It's not normative in communities
so what you're
for the
saying
city
is
to bear the burden.
If I'm running on a sidewalk, which I'm probably not going to be, and I fall, which I would if I was running on a sidewalk, the city bears no responsibility. It's the homeowner.
Correct. It's not. Yeah.
It's their property.
Are we or are we not feeling that this document we have before us is ready for final approval?
Changes you would recommend?
We could. I mean, Alderman Raines, are you thinking the same thing I described before, like a draft format that shows, strike through and underline of what's existing, what would become new? If that would be easier, I think, for everybody to see what's communicated, and I would agree with that. I mean, that's something we do in other settings.
PDF. It would be easy to just send that in our packet.
I mean, we can put it in the next packet. I mean, that's what we worked from to produce this ultimately.
Right.
Shall we put this aside for later consideration then?
Well,
I'd
needs a second reading and a no vote.
I'd make a motion to table it.
Yeah.
I'd second that motion.
Okay. Do we work on that when we already have a motion? It's already
You don't,
read.
you don't have it.
It hasn't been read once.
It's been read once.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is-
You had to have a first reading to have a discussion.
And it sounds like whatever we do, we're not
So
going to
we
be
need to
working
vote
with the
it
exact
down and
document
then-
anyway. So we wouldn't be reviving this exact document, the consideration of this
Do we
document.
need to vote it down and
So,
then motion?
Counselor, do we need to vote this down, or can it be tabled?
It can be tabled. Actually, you're gonna hate my answer. It could be either one, but technically, you don't. I mean, the first reading can be done on a separate night than the second reading. So you can table it, and come back to it.
Yeah,
But-
it's kind of
or we
odd
can
that both of them
just
are on the same night
vote it
anyway.
down.
But the thing is, if we're going to change it,
Right, Don, would a second reading count if the document has been altered between the two readings?
Oh,
Probably not. So essentially, it may never come back up for a vote if you guys made substantial alterations to it.
Should we?
well, that's the
should
goal.
we-
They're wanting to make alterations to it.
Should we
So-
second read and vote this down, and
Then just put it on the agenda in the
and
next
have
meeting.
another consideration?
Yeah, let's
Sure,
just,
you guys can do that.
let's just vote it down and then put it on the agenda for the next meeting, Mr. Mayor. I think
All
that's a
right.
great solution.
All right, are we comfortable with moving ahead with that process?
I am, second reading.
All right. We have a motion for second reading and a second. Counselor?
This is bill number 2026-32, ordinance number 4139, an ordinance amending the Bolivar Municipal Code by amending portions of Chapter 510 of the code regarding construction and repairs of sidewalks.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Sawyer,
Nay.
Price,
Nay.
Ballard,
Nay.
Ross,
Nay.
Sagasser,
Nay.
Rains,
Nay.
Neal,
Nay.
Wilson.
Nay.
By a vote of 8 nays and 0 ayes, bill number 2026-32 has been rejected.
And Thomas, you'll get that on next
Yes, ma'am.
meeting's agenda. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Sagasser has a comment.
I got a phone call Thursday afternoon concerning her neighbor brought in 2 beehives, and now they can't use her backyard, and so and then she started asking, well, if they come on my yard, can I spray them? And I'm over, no, God, I'm not an attorney. I told her we would bring this up tonight.
Good question.
So,
Yeah,
Do we
currently,
have
there's
a-
nothing on the books
Do we have a
against having
beehive
beehives.
policy?
No, we do not.
so what, Tom,
Policy.
No, sir. There's nothing on the books right now prohibiting beehives.
Okay.
How do we feel about that?
I'm curious how other communities have handled this issue, since I highly doubt we're the first community to face the municipal beehive situation.
I honestly do not know much about beehives, so I don't know if it's bee season, because it doesn't sound like the same situation that you're describing, but
Yeah.
another person reached out asking the question recently. I did pretty brief research, but a lot of communities don't do anything. I found a few that in their planning and zoning, when I read them, my first thought was, how do you enforce that? Because that
A little
is-
electric fence for
yes,
the little electric
or-
collars on all the bees.
that was your bee that I saw, and I mean, if you could physically identify a hive, right, you know, the box or whatever, but usually they would be in a rear yard or something. So we can do whatever you want. The planning and zoning could take it. That's normally how it's done in communities. It's done through the planning and zoning commission, or planning and zoning regulations. But in my quick observation, not a lot do it, and it would be hard to enforce.
I promised her I would bring it up. And,
I understand the concern.
Because
Further comments?
Bad bees, can I say something?
You must step forward and identify yourself once again, and
Eddie England, 1310 East Forest.
speak into the microphone.
Yes. We've had bees before. We don't have this year, but we have a couple of hives that, you know, we'll have them for a couple of years and they'll swarm and they'll leave, and, you know, we'll get more. Bees don't go from my yard to the neighbor's backyard and eat all their flowers, or, you know, they don't go hang out on their back deck. They leave the hive, they go gather pollen. They may go up to 3 miles away. They come back to the hive. They don't go and bother the neighbor. There may be, you know, a couple dozen bees floating around on her flowers or something, but it's not like a dog jumping the fence and going and peeing all over your flowers or pooping in your yard.
But on the other
They're
hand,
just,
if you have a lilac bush, they're really going to hang out in your yard. And every
well, not
variety.
necessarily. I mean, depends on what they want. Depends on what they,
So just
you know what I mean? It's not, oh, they're going to attack all my flowers, because it depends on what pollen they're after or what they're wanting to do. You know, every beehive's different, but
Well, they're good for your
Are they
flowers.
after the pollen or after
Just
the
not-
nectar?
They're just not
they're
good for
after-
you if you get stuck.
they collect the pollen and they come back and they.
Yeah, I know they collected, but I just wonder if they don't. Aren't they after the nectar don't they have particular something they like to drink?
hey, Kyle.
They come back and they
Hold up, Eddie,
they
one second.
make the
Platte City, Missouri has a really good ordinance on beekeeping. So they've got it kind of broke down into everything. So Platte City, section 215.125 might be. And that ordinance came in 1939.
I suspect.
Oh, that's an old ordinance.
I suspect,
I'll
Chairman
take-
Neal,
I'd
that
still
we will
interested
be
in their
dealing with this.
enforcement mechanism.
Their ordinance is from 1939, though. It's really got
What,
an age.
what's the request of the board for staff, please?
Uh,
Why don't you put that on our agenda for planning and zoning at some point, and then whatever degree of preparation you feel is appropriate for us, we will take a crack at that
Will
and
do.
let you
To
know.
me, the city has plenty of ordinances. I don't see, as a citizen, I'm gonna go, you're gonna make an ordinance for a couple of beehives now in my backyard? You guys have nothing better?
Pollinators are.
I suspect this woman has other issues with her neighbor
Yeah.
than the bees. And the bees are just an avenue or segue to, complain about. That would be my guess.
We'll deal with this through the proper channel, which
Appropriately.
is the Planning and Zoning
Sure you
Committee.
will.
Other
Always do.
comments from
I've got a couple.
Mr.
Yeah.
Ross?
So a couple comments I have.
Thank you, Mr. England.
Some community things. Number one, we have two businesses in town. Bill Grant Ford, that's out of town, but they, do a lot of business with members of the community. And then Porter Seed House, they're both celebrating 50 years in service, which is an awesome thing for the community to have, two big contributors to the community that long in business for 50 years. So congratulations. Number two, shout out to the high school speech and debate team. They won state, I think, for the first time in school history this year. So the speech and debate kids, again, really good. And then another thing I was at the gas station this morning actually getting gas, and I noticed a gentleman who was just out and about picking up trash. He had a vest on and was going through the parking lot. So I stopped and talked to him. Gary Pillow's his name. And he says he picks up trash all over town. And in the last 8 months, he's picked up 100 bags of trash per month. 10 months. So he's picked up 1,000 bags of trash just walking sidewalks in different areas of town. So, again, appreciate I see a lot of times people will complain on social media about, and this is a guy who, I didn't know him before today, so he flies under the radar. So I greatly appreciate that effort. 1,000 bags of trash is a ton of trash. So I certainly appreciate those
Literally.
efforts to help clean up the town.
Okay.
So
Further comments?
Had it.
Seeing none?
Well, wait a minute.
Oh,
It's okay.
Mr. President.
No, you're good. Kind of in the vein of sidewalks and ownership, the ditch over at Hartford and Division, the grass is 2 foot tall in through there. It's right next to a field, so it's not really in front of a home, and it's kind of in that gray area of who's in charge of it. I think the city has mowed it a few times in the past. I've mowed it once or twice. Some others have kind of co-opted it. Is there some way we could get that on a
Galvin's Corner?
a schedule that maybe we hit it once a month and just knock it down? Or
Yeah, we can take a look.
I don't
Wait,
know
he-
that ditch.
Marty was back out after CY cleanup,
Yeah.
and so we were a little further behind than we wanted to be on some of our mowing because of rain before citywide cleanup and things like that. But yes,
Sure.
we're
I just-
back out with the boom mower.
Yeah,
and
it's
I'll
just
make
in
sure-
that little gray area where it's whose responsibility
Yeah, I
is
mean,
it? And so
I will say ultimately,
I-
it is
it would be
property owners, but we do
technically,
the ones that are more difficult to access. We have equipment, so we try to make that
Yeah.
happen. So we'll take
Further comments?
Thank you.
Seeing none, I'm entertained. Sorry. Go ahead, please.
Around.
I just shout out to the guys for citywide cleanup. Thank you.
Amen.
I know that's tough with all the rain and everything. It was really difficult. I do have just an idea. And I'll be completely transparent. I emptied out the contents of my garage at citywide cleanup, so I was super excited to have all that taken. I know my section was one of the later sections to get done, so stuff was on my property for a while. And with the rain and everything, some of the boxes had kind of fallen between people picking through stuff, so it was a little bit of a mess. And now part of my yard is damaged. I don't know if it's from maybe the machinery or from the duration of stuff being there. It kind of looks like it's scraped out. It's neither here nor there. My suggestion, though, is it possible, and I know it's already logistically complicated, so I'm just throwing this idea out. Is it possible that in the future we say, okay, The first week we plan to do this area. Can this area of the community have your stuff out on this day? And then the following, we hope to reach this area by the following Monday. And could you have yours out by that Monday? That way, stuff isn't sitting in our yards for so long. Is that, I don't know if it's a possibility, just a suggestion so that other people's yards don't get damaged.
Yeah, I mean, and I totally understand. And in fact, the city did used to do like north side, south side. The reason that, I mean, I can just tell you the reasoning why I recommended changing that was primarily for efficiency. The main thing is, so when the crews are out in their particular locations, myself and others are out checking streets off that don't have items, and that, I will say, that initial deadline existing for the whole city has increased our efficiency quite significantly so that we can get out on the street and off of the street within the 2 weeks of our goal. We've done that every year since we made that change. We've met that usually in the 6 to 7 day timeline. This year was about 6.5 when you count our one rain delay. But it has its own, give and take, right? Because whereas that part of town, I think the previous year might have been one of our first or second days, and then this year, and we did, and admittedly, we purposely changed that up. We purposely don't try to overly communicate that so that we're treating people fairly. We want the folks to follow that deadline of setting stuff out. I will say, the piles grow. What starts on day one, whatever we can check off in the first 2 to 3 days helps our efficiency massively, because people just driving around town, though they may not be willing to follow the guideline of the set date, they certainly see all of the trash and then pile out. And that is hard. I mean, I do not love that part of my job, ticketing doors or telling people that, I'm sorry, we've already passed this area, we're not going to pick those items up. I don't love that, but I do think it's a critical element of the project, and that start date is a part of that. So certainly the board could take that up next year when we schedule it. I'm just telling you the reasons why it was recommended in the past, but I understand because it has its weaknesses too.
Further comments? Seeing none, I'm entertaining a motion for adjournment.
I move we go home.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Why don't you oppose?
I'm ready to go.